Hi, gang. Welcome. Welcome to Sketching with Izzy. I need to check my audio levels real quick, make sure they're going through. Can I get a confirmation? So we left off last session with doing some sort of early sketches and exploration for our main character. Hi, Ashton. Welcome. Thank you, sir. Yeah, so we're just going to continue doing the same thing. We're going to do some exploration. These were the images that I started off with because I just kind of wanted to familiarize myself a little bit with anatomy, a little bit with skull structure of the kind of characters that I want to create for this story. So I decided to go and do a little bit more searching to try and find some style inspirations for what I'm after. So we're going to look at some of the concept reference that I'm pulling for that. I just finished organizing it for you guys, so check this stuff out. So I was thinking for the main character of this story, it's set in sort of a proto-ancient Mesoamerica. What are we saying? You'd like a Mr. Rogers style intro next time? Well, I'll do what I can. I don't own any cardigans, I'm sorry. Just tank tops from living on a boat. Anyway, so I wanted to get into figuring out the style and feel for the characters. So it's not exactly kind of just referential of history and of extant costuming and things like that. Again, with this whole story that I'm trying to put together, I'm intending to make something that is indicative of those things without being like an actual reference to those things. So I don't want to step on toes. I just want to borrow from the really rich and diverse culture and story and myth of ancient Mesoamerica. But we're going to be telling our own story. And for those of you that missed out on last time, we're basically doing I'm thinking I'm going to kind of call this a indigenous punk version of the Immaculate Conception. So it's going to be pretty messed up and awesome, and I'm excited to get that out. It dipped out. Oh, no worries. Welcome, Gareth. Great show, my man. That was fun. It's going good. We are just getting started on some new sketches. I'm starting out a new story here, and I wanted to do some main character ideation. So this is concept art, character design kind of stuff. So y'all want to stick around for this sort of thing. I think there'll be a few sessions of concept art, ideation, exploration, and then we'll start dipping into full-on illustrations and things like that. But for now, it's just inspiration and just kind of pumping my head full of cool stuff and seeing what comes out. So those are the references we're looking at today. We are still using these two models as kind of like skull structure, facial features to stick with for our main character. But now I'm going to try and push this indigenous punk feel. Danny Orrs, welcome. No, I'm not streaming from the boat currently. I left the boat about a year ago. I was in Puerto Vallarta for this last year and then came back to the U.S. for dealing with the current plague action we've got going on, which I don't know if that was the greatest of decisions. Probably being on a boat out in the middle of nowhere might have been the safest thing to do. Autumn, welcome. Where to filth art? Well, we'll see. We'll get to it. I'm unsure actually how far I can push that on here because I think so. Like Twitch is like YouTube, right? Like you have sort of a child or made for children level, and then everything else is kind of open to cursing and things like that. I don't know, but I've watched some streams where they like bleep themselves out or they use like heckin' a lot and things. So I don't know. No nipples or bits. Man, that's all the best stuff. I agree. Boo. Oh, you should have definitely visited me in PV. But on the upside is I've got all the infrastructure there now, so I plan to return And I'm thinking what I'll probably do is some variant of snowbirding and, go down seasonally. So I'd love to host people and that are interested in visits and want to just meet Mexico. Or, just eat a shit ton of shrimp and buckets of beer. I'm super down for that. Starting with shapiness, our main character, for those of you that missed last session, is an acolyte in a sort of an abbey of nuns for a very sort of specific religion inspired by some of the religions of the indigenous peoples from the past in Mesoamerica. So they're kind of, in a way, the best way to kind of describe it would just be that they're like sorceresses. So it's inspired again by these myths, but it's going to be its own thing. So they're kind of like a blood priestess group. Very, very powerful. And the goal that I'm after with this indigenous punk thing is to try to sell the idea of these badasses that have these like magical abilities and things like that, but are not in any way inspired by Western style fantasy. Where the goal here is to create a whole new aesthetic. You swear a bit too? Oh, so monetization depends on self-censoring. Interesting. You can swear a bit, just not too much. Drink a bit, just not too much. All right, well, these are rules I can live with, I suppose. Daniel's got a timeshare down there? What? Holy crap. You should be down there for sure. Gareth, I don't know. I'm just basing it off the things that I've seen. But a lot of the Scottish streams like yours that I've seen, I don't have an issue with it. It doesn't bother me. But a lot of the American ones and the Canadian ones, I've seen them self-censoring. They're vague on the swearing rules, yeah. You have a swear counter? That's fantastic. Oh, thanks, Daniels. That's awesome. Ah, ye old God of War. Well, you'll like this because essentially what prompted this concept is this story that I'm going to be doing is based on a pitch that I was preparing as a sort of sequel to, or a reboot, if you will, to the franchise after God of War Ascension. And the goal was, what I wanted to sell was just something completely, totally different, but still had the same kind of over-the-top Conan-style violence, sex, murder, monsters, all the best stuff in life. What is best in life? You foster good habits for YouTube. Oh, man. Oh, well, I guess that makes sense. It's to do with the words. Which words you use. I guess, yeah, if you're just rolling the C-bomb all the time. Kooky Dukes. Well, I guess monetization on this platform was never really going to be a thing. I mean, just to partner, you have to get an insane amount of people following all at once. So I don't know. I don't think that's going to be doable. But it's just fun, and it's like a way for me to force myself to work on these projects that I don't want to work on. Yeah, 75 viewers average for a month. Are you kidding me? That's like... I like how all of the other things that they want you to do to reach partner are like, oh, okay, that's the next level. That's reasonable jump in expectation. And then, boom, you have to have 75 viewers straight for every goddamn... No. I don't know how the hell anybody pulls that shit off. Oops. Kind of doing this wasp nest thing again. Let's put it away. Never throw anything away. It might be useful. Let's switch to line and see what we come up with. There's different elements that I like from all these different things. The headdresses, the gorget, the shapes, the colorfulness, and that kind of, yeah, like that punk indigenous aesthetic. That's where this has to go for me. You're scared that people would heckle you? Heckling would be good. At least that's like interaction. Kind of the hardest thing to deal with is just silence. I've had a couple of shows where it was just like, just me blabbing. Not much response. It can be tough. Heckling's good. You want some kind of interaction, I think. It's just about like how you manage it. Gonna start streaming Minecraft. I thought about doing that actually, but that's a lesson that I learned with my boat thing with Patreon. So when I started my Patreon, I intended it to be like an art thing half and then an adventure thing half. Like I was gonna post images and videos and talk about, small house living and exploring the Sea of Cortez and shit like that. And I found over the months of my producing content for it that people really didn't care that much about the adventure stuff. They really just cared about the art. So I don't know, maybe there's something to that for you there. I don't think you need to do the games. Just paint, man. Make the show. I think the cool thing about going on and starting a show, even if you feel like you're an amateur, would be that there are other people out there that are having exactly the same struggles you are, and sharing your journey with them can be super valid. Iris, hey! Welcome. Twitch people are nice. YouTube people will heckle. Yeah, actually, that's kind of been my experience too. My favorite thing is, so I had one of my most popular videos on YouTube was the first 3 rules of light, which is essentially the first free lesson from my Patreon. And I have had so many funny comments on that where people are like, well, actually. Oh, so good. Beads. Yeah, art's got the size of it. Just do what you do and make stuff. Is crying appropriate? Of course it's appropriate. Lots of people have entire careers off of just sobbing on camera. And they've been very successful. I can't get over this awesome shaggy mohawk. Is fantastic. Yeah, just go with it as you learn. People will support that. Definitely do it. Thanks for the cheer, Autumn. Is it just back hair, you think? I don't think that'll stop my proposal. I will still propose to that woman. I could use the hair to kind of mimic the helmets and the headdresses for the Aztec eagle warriors kind of had this cool sort of eagle beak on the top and the bottom of the chin in the stone artwork. So I could mimic that with the hair. That might be kind of an interesting feature. I know that I definitely want to go light on her eyebrows. I'm still not even sure how much I want to stylize this. It's when it comes to actually painting, like on camera and things like that, it's so much easier to just go with like the essential rules of reality, and then and trying to do stylization requires so much concentration that talking is, it's almost out. So I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. I know that I'll never master painting well and entertaining at the same time. She'll never be able to braid my back hair. I have no back hair. I don't even have arm hair. Look at that. There's nothing there, buddy. Not even peach fuzz. Smooth. I'm like a professional swimmer. Some kind of naked otter. You're welcome for that visual, everyone. It'll be a great show. Yeah, this is also a tough sort of IP that I'm working on, because so much of what I had originally in mind involved a great deal of blood and nudity. So I think I'll have to do the backbone work here with y'all, and then I'm gonna do several pieces that are just that will just go in the illustrated novel, that will be a little bit more edgy. A little bit. We're still just experimenting. And that's what this stage is all about, is just kind of trying to find those little aha moments that will end up carrying through. A lot of it isn't used, but everything is valuable, because it's at worst, it's a no. So really figuring that out and getting the things you definitely don't want out of the way, it's a good way to do it. I know I've talked before about how I don't really thumbnail, and I don't enjoy it. I don't do that much thumbnailing. Like, I'll do 2 or 3 and that's it. But when it comes to character exploration, style exploration, I could just draw and draw and draw and studies on that and explore. And I think that's the right way to handle that part. So that's where I disagree with myself. Cheating smudge brush. You have to keep remembering you can't just open any old piece on your iPad. Oh yeah, when you're doing your stream, Daniel. Yeah, I have the same problem. I like have to triple check and make sure that I've closed down all my windows. Like, I always worry because I'm freelance and things like that. Same thing, just to make sure. Nobody sees naughty things or things that are under NDA. I'm going to do mild rendering, but mostly just because it's pleasing to look at. But I'm going to be doing it all in a really tight value key. like I was doing on Sunday, just with the goal of kind of quickly capturing ideas. But I'm already kind of picking up rhythms. Like I'm already able to tell that I'm getting comfortable with doing these profiles and these facial shapes without referencing the photos so much right away, or leaning on them so heavily. So in a way, there's already sort of tent stakes being put in my mind about where this is going. And so long as I keep at it and continue making new artwork for it, it'll stay, and I'll have the aesthetic in my head. For me, it's always when I leave something for some time, that's when I run into problems, and I have to reacquaint myself with whatever it was I was working on. For example, my comic collar, for me to get back into that, I would have to spend like a week just restudying how to draw that way again. So it was such a very specific look. I know I definitely I love these kinds of these beads and draping things. And I'd love to dump all of that decoration on her because she's the main character, but at the same time, for the narrative, this main character is not a high-ranking priestess. In fact, she's like a recent inductee into this religious order. And the idea is that she's immediately called to question her faith because of the impregnation. Not much of a thumbnailer either. Respect. It gets tiring. Oh, Garrett, thanks for hanging out so late, man. Especially after doing such a great performance. It's always fun to watch you. Y'all should definitely give Garrett the follow. He does a great comedy show and plays horror video games that are super scary for me too. So I scream right along with him. Very funny guy. Thanks for hanging. We're definitely going to have to, tease some underboob because, colonizer. Hips. I like to do kind of a scanning type of thing. I liken it when I'm doing my referencing. I liken it kind of to like, Terminator 2 when the Terminator is driving down the road with the headlights out and just kind of scanning everything. That's how I treat my reference hunt. Even when I'm on Google, I'll just scroll. I don't stop. Just all I'm doing is just downloading. And that's how I want to keep it. And it'll be more loose. And then just little details pop out, and then they get kind of mushed together in my head. Yeah, fast read is big. And then just there's this thing that kind of happens. It's like looking at clouds, that you just kind of end up seeing things that weren't really there. And I find they can inspire interesting shapes or an interesting idea that I hadn't originally intended, and specifically that I wasn't looking for. Like that's my goal anytime I'm looking for that stuff is to see something that's not there and to find the thing that I didn't even know I wasn't looking for. Yeah. very much the same way. Poster reads are so important. The first read and that in the thumbnail is so important for that kind of work. She's a bit cartoony, but that's okay. We're working with shapes. I definitely still love that rectangular, I can never remember the name of it, but the Aztec sword, which will have flakes of obsidian or shark's teeth on them. So cool. We'll put her to the side. She's cool. I know that also the next stage, right? So at this point, it's just exploration, not really worrying too much about even anatomy, getting that right. It's just kind of getting the feel for this stuff. But I know that the thing, this is just from experience in games and doing IP development for that sort of stuff, is that your directors are always looking for like that one image, the one thing that kind of communicates the entire feel that you're after. And it's a tall order. And I've learned over the years that it's not something you can usually like force. It'll just happen. So that's another reason to kind of do these sorts of things. Welcome, dude Cameron. Yep, I stream now. It's a new thing, relatively. I've only just started really taking it more seriously. But yeah, I'm using it as a... Thanks for the follow. I'm using it as a way to kind of force myself to work on my projects and get them in front of people and see what people think. Even in the nascent stage like this, like we're there really isn't much here yet. Let's go for a more sort of action-y pose. So that means like getting a little bit more of that action line. I know we did that kind of crouched version of her before. Maybe we can do like a tree dangling shot, which would make sense, you know, rainforest and all that. I like that feather ring. I wonder if there's something that can be done with that. Maybe this is all feathers. Who knows? I like the beads. I like that corn idea from the last session, where the beads are almost like a top in and of themselves. I do like sketching like this with just a crappy flat round brush, because then I'm not getting caught up in textures or anything like that, and it's just kind of, it's all shapy and dirty. It's a great way to kind of feel out a sketch rather than doing line work. Let's filter out more. I do this a lot too. Okay, I liked something about that. There's a start there, but it's not extreme enough. This is almost always the case with pose, where I got, oh, okay, here's a initial idea for a pose, but it's not pushed enough. It doesn't have enough animation to it. So then I'll go in and I'll dim that layer, lower the opacity rather, throw in a new one, and try and figure out how I can push that pose even further. So now maybe, you know, She's hunting. Maybe she's looking a little bit more down. Stretch the neck out. Like imply an extreme comfort in the tree, you know? You really enjoy works that have the Brothers Grimm unnerving element? Thanks. Yeah, that's kind of my bread and butter. That creepy cute. Exactly. Doing something and doing something well. Or in this case, I think in communicating the comfort. The comfort with the blade, the comfort with the dangerous situations, things like that. Let's grab her head and actually move it further. Tilt it down. I think there might be something too. This in and of itself is just like more. Let's put her out by herself now. We don't need that previous layer. That's garbage. It's shite. Hate it. I kind of like the idea that like one leg, she's just so strong that just like one leg kind of dangles out. She's definitely got to be a total badass. This character, as originally intended, was meant to kind of, you know, be able to take the reins from someone like Kratos in terms of a franchise. So like I said, I definitely want that Frazetta over-the-topness with it. That leg's not doing it. Maybe higher up. A little more graceful look. Sorry, dude, Cameron. Yeah, my bot is a little overzealous. I gotta fix that. Start off implying a little bit of atmosphere right off the bat. And the more things that you can kind of imply quickly without really having to render in later, if it melts into the background, you've done the job. You don't need to render on it anymore. It's the indication as is. Thanks, Iris. Welcome, Lawrence. So yet again, we do this. I feel like we're refining a pose right now and getting kind of a feel. Like she's coming out of the mist for us, and we're discovering her, and her personality is coming out of it too. So let's just follow her, see where she leads us. A big fan of using the warp to just kind of quickly mess with proportions. She's quite long in the torso right now. This is all just like blocked in. There's no detail, no line. Again, the reason I like working with shape over line to start usually is when I get caught up in the line, I feel like I'll lose something because there's so much detail, and even with like really scribbly shapes, there's action and dynamicisms. They're dynamic, and I don't want to throw that away. It's harder to throw that away. Whereas with shapes and it's just big, scribbly, ugly brushes, then you can't be tricked into falling in love with any of that. You're forced to just kind of really analyze the raw reality of it. Dynamism. Is that it? Dynamism? Yeah, that sounds right. Not dynamicabisms. Dynamicabilism. That's my word. Dynamics. I like it. My undo will be the undoing of me. Okay, so I'm already thinking line. This is already too much, but I just want to get my proportions correct because she's pretty out there. thumb. All right. And I want to pull the clavicle and the shoulder way back to give that feeling of weight. You got to get that stretch of pectoral, right? And I'm thinking about that head and the neck and how far can I really push that and still have it feel. I really want her jutting like she's hunting. You know what I mean? Like a cat doing that little wide-eyed watching thing where their butt starts to wiggle right before the bleeding happens. Really jut the neck forward. And almost make like a swoop out of that shape there, right? I'm not going to worry too much right now about the facial anatomy. I'm just trying to get the pose. Because she's just slowly coming together for us. Head's too big, but whatever. We'll live with that for now. I love the idea of like real sturdy thighs here. Such a comfort and strength. Like you can see this with like pole dancing in particular. The strength involved in order to do some of the tricks is incredible. And seeing how the leg anatomy and the arm anatomy is stretched and the muscles are corded is so cool. But one of the things that always makes it look like it's very like the person is in total control when they're dangling from the pole is that for some reason locking the knee. It just looks like just here. You know what I mean? With line, the direction is more streamlined, whereas with block shapes, your imagination is more. There is definitely finding the figure in the clouds element to it, but it's also when I work in line, I tend to start. It starts to clamp me down, and I start thinking about the final drawing too fast. And this is a way for me to kind of when I'm doing blocky chunky. Lot more happy accidents tend to come my way when I go blocky chunky. And that's what I'm all about right now. So her arm is absolutely not stressed enough for me. Part of that is his hand. By tipping her out even further, it looks even more precarious, right? Brain hack. Oh, yeah. I can read. This one right here, her eyes. Oh, yeah. It's one of the things I loved about that image. She is not taking any shit. Almost like a lazy dangling arm here. We'll figure that one out later. I'm not pleased with that in any direction yet. Do you want this shoulder to dangle? Yeah, maybe that's the way. There's definitely things that I'm doing as I go along that are just like keepers. So that's the stuff that you're gonna keep seeing. So there's these beads in some form. It could be beads. It could be kind of like a feather element. I like the gorget, but I feel like the gorget might create too much Batman neck. So I don't know. I could just ignore the Batman neck. That's a possibility. I mean, Batman did for generations, right? Hint at the, what is that, the greater trochanter there. There was, so let's actually real quick open up my sketches from last session. There was that, yes, that shaved head look I liked too. More like the Aztec sword is the Macahuitl. That's right. Thank you. Macahuitl. That's so hard. It's like the name for the Aztec war god, who is a hummingbird, by the way, which is so awesome if you think about it. I think it's Huitzilopochtli. It's so fun. Thanks for the cheers, Thug. Did an animation pop up? Which one was it? I forget. Yeah, I think we may have just stumbled onto Bloodflower here. It's like a little bit Tarzan, a little bit Conan, right? Red Sonja. I mean, these are all things I love anyway, so they were going to be influences, of course. I mean, so one of the things, story-wise, I was thinking about with Bloodflower is that the story would begin with Bloodflower and her best friend both being inducted into this sort of powerful abbey of sorceresses, sorcerai, and that there would be a big test. And I think that the first test was going to be her and her friend running through the treetops of a rainforest hunting jaguar. I thought that would be kind of a cool visual as an opener. So I think that's where we'll start. So I think this image definitely kind of encompasses that for me. Oh, the tentacle dog. Nice. Oh, the Mysterious Cities of Gold. I never actually saw that. It was a cartoon? Was it like Dungeons and Dragons? That shit was awesome. I was also not allowed to watch it as a kid. For obvious reasons. Witchcraft. It was witchcraft. Let's pull up some... The flower is so great. But I think it might be too decorative for a blood priestess. I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe it's just right for a blood priestess with porcupine hair. Have a little flower there. I kind of like that idea. Hey. God, I'm sold. The devil in the dice. Oh my god. Yeah. It's such a crazy time. The Watchtower Wives. French Japanese. Wow. Interesting. Huh. And was it like completely fantastical Aztec stuff, or was it meant to be somewhat historically accurate? I'm assuming if it was a cartoon, not so much, but I don't know. Dungeon Master was a monster. And if you play Dungeons and Dragons, you'll know that all Dungeon Masters are monsters. The onyx armor. For the Aztecs. Picking a darker value now. I think we'll stick to this layer in order to kind of force myself to, you know, I need to stop doing these refined passes because this isn't meant to be kind of a finished piece. I just need to capture the feel, get the idea. Maybe we'll come back some other time and do a finished illustration with this. And in fact, I really like the pose and I like what's going on here, so there's a very good chance that this will end up being a finished illustration. But that's not what I'm trying to do yet. And this is something that I have to constantly stop myself from doing, is going to illustration rather than doing concept art. Thanks for the follow, Lawrence. Appreciate it. You like my little anime face? Super cute. Felt cute. Might delete later. I won't. I'm too cute. Just gotta have some pouches. A little fanny pack there. Words that scar D&D players. What's your passive perception? Oh god. See, a good DM should know that ahead of time. That way it can be a fun surprise when they stumble into the gold dragon's lair. I like the idea of using like staggered triangles maybe as an element for her. I don't know. Maybe this bead thing isn't working. Let's see. What else can we do? Maybe those pauldrons, like a full pauldron thing instead. I like the idea of the ear kind of coming out. This neck gorget piece. The cool thing is this neck, the gorget itself, maybe it doesn't even need to be a material. It could just be body paint or a tattoo. And it just captures that, having that dark collar that goes all the way up to the throat and maybe up into the jawline a little bit. And then now we do the beads. Yeah, there's some good notes in here. Really stretched, lithe muscles, hunter, dancer kind of feel. Long deltoid. Yeah. Mysterious Cities of Gold is set in the 16th century about an orphan who works on the Spanish boats exploring the world looking for treasure. There's an Inca girl too. Loved it as... Damn. That sounds pretty sweet. I'll have to check it out. How was the art style? Was it like comparable to Silverhawks? What was the Sharks version of that? Remember? There's the Thundercats, the Silverhawks, and then there was a Sharks one. I think Tiger Sharks or something like that. Like they were just like, kids like animals. We'll roughly skin these comic book characters in animal themes and sell it to them as toys. Works every time. More anime inspired, really. Street Sharks. I remember when Street Sharks came out, I was already like, I think it was already in high school when that came out. And when I was in middle school, I used to draw a character that was like an anthropomorphic shark and did these little like mini comics. They're terrible, but it's like, they stole my idea. Should have sued, man. Should have sued. I'd be rich on that Street Sharks money. Because no one's ever thought of an anthropomorphic shark before. Low frame rate, 80s Japanese with French style. Damn, okay. Y'all have to write that one down. I'm implying a little bit of overlap here to hint that the arm is slightly coming towards us rather than going straight back. Again, trying to emphasize strength and a weightlessness, all with a really simple kind of rough sketch. Our more savvy viewers will definitely notice that I had been avoiding drawing feet. Because nobody likes drawing feet, damn it. It's horrible. It's got super long legs, eh? We'll stick with it for now. Just to, again, I'm not trying to... Maybe the... The weapon tilts back the other way. I don't know. I don't think it matters right now for that. If this makes it to illustration, that'll be something that gets figured out then. Battle Beasts in the 80s? More, I don't remember Battle Beasts. Was that the one where they had the holograms on their chests and like there was they all looked like badass like deer and rhinoceros and stuff? That was a crazy show. I remember the toys were everywhere for a very short time. Oh man, the Tarzan movie, you should see the sketches that Keen did for that. Oh my god. Masterpieces. Switch to my... Everybody's got a side. Everybody has a profile side where they're more comfortable drawing it from one direction. Mine is left to right. Faux show. Hi, dog. I'm definitely doing overly masculine features here, but I can once I map them out where they're supposed to be, I can always bring it back. You've seen me do it a couple times already. I know that one of the things that I want to get with this is both kind of the savagery of the blood magic in and of itself, but also the beauty in the philosophies behind this religion that see blood sacrifice and see war as a sort of a powerfully spiritual thing. So it's going to be a fine line between kind of gauche over the top violence, you know, my Bisley Frazetta inspirations, and then also kind of, I don't know, I don't think feminizing is the right word, but softening of it and beautifying it in a way. The stream is full of old people. That is true. We are old folks. Pretty soon, Twitch will be dead because we're on it. It's like Facebook is over already. Just watch. I'll get booted from Twitch. They'll be like, "You're ruining it!" Alright, I'm belaboring this at this point because I want to paint it, and I'm going to ignore that instinct for now. I'm going to merge down... Oop, uh-oh. What happened here? There we go. We will save that. I don't want to shrink it because I want to keep that pixel information for when it does make it to illustration point. But let's take what we've got with her. I think there's some stuff here that we can kind of explore a little bit deeper. I'm going to do copy paste. Turn off those layers, transform her. Sorry, dude. Cameron, yeah, you got to take it out. Slam that bot. I really need to see. The problem is, once the stream is over, I stop thinking about this damn Streamlabs bot, and every time it causes me little headaches. But that said, it's actually saved me from some spams before, so I don't know. What I got to do is just build up this stream big enough so that I can actually get proper moderators in. I do have a moderator on my Thursday show, the UK show. So what is it I'm liking about this? I really like the Gorget paint. I like the face paint. The flowers are cool detail. Let's pull out a liner and see what we come up with. Streamlabs is having none of Dude Cameron. What makes it UK? It's no, my UK accents would make Thug cry. No, it's that I have patrons that are in the UK, and so we do. I generally will do my crits for my patrons on the Thursday show, which is at noon instead. That's when I think that's like evening time is just getting going around then at noon here, so they can catch it and they're not going to be up super damn late. You're from Scotland and you don't sleep. Oh, well. That's why Streamlabs is mad at you. It can sense your foreign accent and your use of the term loo. Or is it bog in Scotland? Hey! My dog likes to play Last Word with me. It's really fun. I need a Kova cam. That would be pretty funny. A Kova cam, like just like a GoPro or something that's broadcasting, and it's just attach it to her. Then I could. You guys would just see her like sleeping or slurping on her lady bits most of the time, though. Well, I did promise that it would be a filth stream, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Whenever I'm doing portrait work, you know, focusing on the head, I always do the keystone first, which I know is confusing when you're watching. But yeah, I always build out the bridge. I have a whole thing of it, a whole episode devoted to how I draw heads specifically for my on my Gumroad. And it's very unusual, but I find for me that it really helps me figure out three-dimensional plotting and mapping of facial features quickly without having to do, you know, all of this and everything. Nah, I'm too lazy for that shit. I've definitely been making her pretty severe looking, but I guess I kind of it's going with the territory. There's a lot of cool headdress stuff going on there. You see, this is the thing. I love headdresses, but headdresses look so ceremonial. And again, I'm trying to imply rank and her lower rank. Slurping? Why? She's a dog. That's what dogs do. They spend all their day slurping and sleeping. At least mine does. Channel points for a Kova cam. Oh, that's not a bad idea. I will look into setting one up. Definitely thinking sort of long and lean rhythms, breaking, standard anatomical structure. I think I'm thinking ahead for a lot of this. Like, okay, when I make decisions, especially doing concept art, I think about how it's maybe like a nose ring or something. I think about how different things will evolve and how those relationships and themes can be played on later. So I think having a really long, lean, and slender woman will accentuate the swelling belly as the story progresses, and I think that might be interesting. To have like a big swoop that kind of offsets the shape, but we haven't got there yet. I should probably be designing her sort of further along as my starting point, but like I said, I'm just kind of exploring the world and trying to get an aesthetic going. Yeah, you use the inside sockets too. Yeah, it's I can't remember which teacher I had that kind of got me started doing that. It was one of the head drawing teachers. He was the guy that did the crazy facial expressions. I'm totally spacing on his name right now. It is almost as if we've attended the same school with the same teachers. Fancy that. No, it wasn't Kato. It was a white guy, wore glasses, really thick glasses, and I cannot remember his name. Anyway, interesting thing you notice is with artists, you often notice their facial features on the characters they draw. Yes and no. I'd say that my characters are generally really much more Caucasian when I draw sort of out of my head, and I'm not trying to do anything, because this is set in amongst the people where I come from. So you're going to definitely see features that are reminiscent of me in Bloodflower, the Bloodflower story. But that's not usually the case for me. If you were on for the sort of death goddess character that I was painting with the little sort of tentacle creature, that's more my go-to. It's very Glen Keane. That's where I go first. It's like a comic booky, dark Glen Keane, I'd say. I don't know. Not feeling this one as much. This happens. Could be that I'm not giving the mouth enough space. Just not youthful enough. She's meant to be kind of a teen. That's why you constantly draw elves. That makes sense. Oh, thug. No. No, buddy. Jason Momoa. Oh, really? That's interesting, Daniel. Yeah, I started doing this shape thing. I definitely picked up from the head drawing teacher, and it just stuck. Because when I first really started drawing, I mean, at the beginning of Art Center, I would definitely do the whole, like, you would do the egg, and then the chin, and then I would kind of do the T, It's hard for me to even kind of do this anymore, and then you divide the eyes and the nose. I think, if I remember right, I used to always start with the nose. Like that. And then the eye would get in there somehow. Little mouth. It's hard. It's been so long. Isn't that weird? Like going back and trying to remember how you used to do something after doing it differently for so long. It's almost impossible. Thanks, Iris. Yeah, me too. The sketch that I'm doing now isn't doing it for me, but I'm doing sort of costuming exploration right now. I know that I'm definitely going to use that tree sketch for an illustration in this project. You know what part of this could be is that I'm doing that thing I was talking about avoiding by having a texture brush. Can't draw days. Yeah, as I'm exploring, because I haven't locked anything down, the style's going to vary significantly. The likenesses, that's something I've always had issues with is staying on model. So you're going to see a wide variety of modeling differences until I actually really get it locked down. It's almost a better idea to just, once you've seen me sketch something, just forget it and try not to compare it to anything new that I sketch, because it will not be comparable. Could go really stylized. Just one of the variations is just Kratos on that body. Well, it's a story that I told in the last session, but that was a huge problem for me at Sony was Kratos. Every time I had to do a big marketing illustration that featured Kratos, I'd have to take it back to Andy Park all the time to help me get it back on model, because I cannot stay on model to save my life. Yeah, exactly, Autumn. It is. It's too much fun. Every new drawing is like a new adventure to be had. I kind of like the idea of some kind of headband or something. And then that flower's got to be done. This one definitely feels younger with those giant eyes, eh? You just have to draw Scott Glacier. I don't remember who that was. Was Scott the young guy? She needs the nose bone. Oh, you mean like an actual piercing? Or do you mean a nose structure? Are you critiquing my anatomy already? Come on, man. Just not there yet. Maybe a animation style might be worthwhile. The boxer looking dude with the nautical tattoos. You know, I cannot remember. I have what I call a goldfish memory, in that like my memory span moves with me. So yeah, college is now on the far side of that. I'd say it's about 7 years. Anything more than 7 years, it's tough. I am always impressed by everybody that remembers that stuff, though. It's kind of cool. She does kind of have a Sonic look. See, I'm so tempted to just make her topless and make it a paint, like this dark paint that covers the top and has the same, you know, the same rhythms here, like this, and then let it kind of fade out. That would be such a cool look, I think. Super dislocated arm. Perfect for Nickelodeon. All of my projects are going to end up on Nickelodeon, or the Cartoon Network. I guess if it just goes straight to like a dark... I don't know. Kind of a more manga-y thing going on. Never do hard nostrils. Hard lesson. Use a more tender value. Is it bad if it's in verse? Sometimes I like just painting with with no opacity variation at all, just a really harsh brush. Almost like ink. Kind of like Daniel's drawings. You get kind of... You're just forced to go with whatever happens, eh? You say goldfish brain too? That's awesome. The dark paint is a very dope idea. Yeah, I think that might be the way to go. And also it kind of, in a sense, it pays homage to the original inspiration. Hi, Darlantan. Darlantan? Darlantan. I like it. Black paint could open doors for some interesting paintings with all the lighting and stuff being absorbed. Yeah, and the Lost and Found, which would be kind of cool, you know, playing up the idea that parts of her character are inspired by Jaguar warriors and things like that. And I'm digging these kind of like stiff dreads. Maybe there's just like beadwork. Okay. Kind of cool. Little dangly things. I love dangly things. Is it Darlington? Darlanton? I feel bad because yeah, my name's the same. Everybody struggles with my name, my real name. Rim lights. It's the ultimate cheating. It's happening, my dude. The fire is burning. As dudes, we are required to love dangly thing. Well, I suppose that's true. Twas ordained by the species. I've mentioned I really love looking at native and historical methods for folding cloth and the cool patterns and shapes they make. So cool. Love it. The Egyptians, the Greeks, all these different ways that you can take a square or a triangle piece of cloth and do like cool designs and patterns and drapes over and around the body. Yeah. Maybe this is like a couple of months. Just a slight swell. Hell yeah. Metal. I am using Photoshop CS6. I have never bothered to upgrade. I am old. Old and old school. It's the last big upgrade I did, and I think Photoshop CS6 is something like 10 years old or something like that. I don't have brush folders at all. Nope. Did you not see how I do my brushes? Look at this. You're going to love this. It's just going to put you into a fit. Look at that. See how they're divided by the crazy cross brushes? Folders? I don't need none of your fancy folders. That's not how we did it back in my day. Oh, yeah. I'm an old salt. You can't teach me no new tricks. Alright, let's put her to the side for a bit. There's things I'm liking. I'm kind of digging that, like, stylization. Could be interesting. I don't know if I could ever maintain it. Again, I'm so bad at staying on model. But let's keep playing with this brush and see what else we come up with. Let's go in a completely different direction. I'm kind of liking these swoopy hats. Those are cool. Let's go with a mid-tone for flesh. I guess we're doing an upward angle look, then we can't see the hat so much. So let's tilt it down. Maybe like what are those? Those Kubo helmets? Very Japanese looking. And then pulling dreads out of that. That's kind of cool. It's a really, really thin line between iconic and just goofy ass. And it's one that you got to be real careful about, because you always want to aim for iconic with your design, but it's always right there on the cusp of just fucking absurd. I mean, think of any like iconic character design, and it's right on the borderline. I mean, Darth Vader, right? If you sit and really analyze the shapes and think about it, like, it's kind of absurd. It's right there, right at that edge. I've found that all of my favorite designs are like right there, right Kabuto, thank you, that's the word. Jeez, I haven't even checked. How are we doing on time? 2 hours, okay. Not bad. But you don't even name your layers? You need to talk to Thug about that one. I don't name no damn layers. I never do. You can take it back. That's fair. I don't use channels. That's something I still avoid. I do use styles on rare occasion. Sound mix, bathrobe, and then it's just like this like triangular, super simple skull and a samurai helmet. I mean, it's super basic, but it's so iconic. It's timeless. If I find something that's not really pulling it off, I'll do a big transform. I really like that weird swoopy one. It's like a... almost like a seashell or something. And then little hot dangly bits. Maybe she has rolls of hair instead. You know what? Nope, don't like it. Trash it. Delete. Deleted. Start over. This is also dangerous. I'm designing a lot in profile, and it can be really easy to make something that looks really cool in profile, and then when you try to, or in one specific cardinal direction, and then when you try to make it work in anything else, it just doesn't. Case in point, Stewie Griffin. Do the gorget again. Maybe shorter hair this time. Still dready. Nope. Thanks for the cheer. You want to talk about crazy, wacky designs? Oda, who made One Piece, his characters are so crazy and stupid that they're in that realm. Yeah, I haven't watched that much One Piece, but it definitely those designs are very iconic, and they ride that line perfectly. And it's really tough. You have to really respect designers that have pulled it off. Darlington knows me in person. I'm not able to guess it from your username. Aiden. couple Aidens. Not from Hawaii. Yeah? Hey, Aiden! I remember you, bud. How's it going? I haven't seen y'all in a long time. You're all big now. Yeah, send big love to the fam. Aiden's dad taught me how to make poke, tuna poke. So if you've followed my Instagram and things like that in the past, and seen my posts from the boat with fresh tuna, that's all thanks to Aiden's pops. I mean, at this point, I'm just kind of rendering a silly face. It's not even close to our Bloodflower, but I think I know enough to know that this helmet is not right. But let's put it to the side. Nothing's wasted. We'll grab a copy of it and see if there's something else we can do here. I'm still thinking kind of roughly of the Eagle Warriors. And I think you guys have sold me on the paint for the chest. In some ways it kind of reminds me of the exploration that they did do for Kratos. I've heard this story so many times because, you know, working there and having to do illustrations and designs for Kratos. One of the things that they discovered as they were developing the character is they wanted him to look like super badass and powerful, make him very dangerous and savage. And when they started him out, he had like a full set of armor, like Greek style armor and everything, because, you know, it's like a Greek myth. It's set in the Greek pantheon. So he started out fully armored with all these like crazy weapons and things like that, and they found that in order to get that feeling of savagery, it was actually about making him more and more naked and taking away the stuff. So there might be a mirror of that with Alotli here, where it's more about getting rid of the decoration, getting rid of the protective elements, and making it more about her just being an utter badass as is. Spicy ahi all the way. Mm-hmm. Tiny girlfriend is a big poke fan. Awesome. I love it, but I feel so bad about eating tuna these days. Living out on the sea, you definitely kind of get a different appreciation for stuff, I guess. But it's so prevalent in Hawaii. All the good food. Ceviche. When I was in Tahiti, one of the things I really loved was tuna carpaccio, which is kind of similar to a ceviche, I guess. And oh my god, just thinking about it, my mouth is watering. And you know, just like Hawaii, just like in parts of Mexico, when you go to buy your tuna, I mean, it's that day's catch. I'll get right on that, dude Cameron. That's why Conan was always more badass. Exactly. The loincloth approach. Yeah. Poisson cru is tuna carpaccio. I didn't know what it just that's what it looked like to me. It was made very similarly. Very tasty. I totally fell in love with that too. And because, like in Tahiti, it's the same thing. They would go fishing, and it was so cheap. You would just get these monster plates of tuna. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. One of the things I was so excited about, like, choosing to go and sail in the Sea of Cortez was I was a huge fan of Jacques Cousteau, and he had these amazing videos that showed the Sea of Cortez, and when he would dive the Sea of Cortez, he basically described it as like the Garden of Eden. It was like one of his most favorite places to dive. So I was excited to get out in the water out there, and when I finally went, yeah, it's barren. It's totally barren. It's nothing like the videos from the 70s. I'm doing chonky dreads right now. Chonky is a great word. Let's carry on there. I like the idea that maybe the paint just kind of dries and flakes off at the bottom, and it's just perpetually dark. Maybe this is a costume element for all of the nuns of this particular religion. Like just from the neck down, it's just dark. Maybe blood or something, like dried blood. Oh man, it's so good, that tuna. They tend to use coconut milk in their ceviche. What I had didn't have coconut milk at all. It was made almost exactly like a carpaccio. It was thinly sliced tuna, capers, onions. I think tomato was a side, and cucumber was on the side. But it was just really, really basic. Oh, and sea salt, of course. What was the other thing? There was some other dressing that they kind of put on it, but it was not. There was nothing white on it at all, like coconut milk. Oh, you guys are making me so hungry. I may have to cut this one short because now I want food. I should have come prepared with some snacky snacks. Let's do grab that white. Maybe these are flowers instead of eyes. This is a really common theme in like Katrina's flowers for eyes, or peyote buds. I really like the idea of like floral decoration on armor. Maybe the headdress kind of comes out like a triceratops or something. It's got a bird skull feel to it, which is fun. Still keeping the value key pretty tight here, because I'm trying to avoid getting into too much detail. Some kind of beaded necklace, maybe. Or flowers. It could be a flower necklace. Flowers, and in the Aztec myths, flowers and blood are often interchangeable, and they're celebrated in kind of the same way. And I think, I can't remember, marigolds is one of the really important flowers. This is interesting because the black of this blood paint or whatever this will be, edging it in something white also kind of gives it. I know I was avoiding going for any kind of Western nun motifs, but it does kind of hint at it, just a tad. My dog is going to town on herself. I don't know if y'all can hear that. Yeah, I want Poke too. The art director for Enslaved and Hellblade, Alessandro, he was amazing with his character designs. I'm trying to think. Enslaved was that, it was the version, like a video game of The Journey West, right? From a while ago. I remember really liking the art direction for that. This is pretty dope stuff. Yeah, okay. And definitely leaning on profiles pretty hard for these facial features. So I'm gonna have to challenge myself to avoid that for the next couple of sketches. And it's definitely got really heavy bird motifing. Probably too much. But, like I said, exploration phase. We can just trust that Bloodflower will come to us. And we'll know. We've definitely got some really good peeks at her today, I think. There's definitely cause for celebration that we have some really strong anchor points. Let's move her to the side. Okay, let's take a break here for a second and look at our reference. We can talk about that for a bit. When I'm looking at reference for specific, like, purpose design, like what we're doing here, I will often look for things that don't answer that specific question at all, and really specifically make an effort to find things that are outside of my personal expectations for what that thing is. Like if you were to say, all right, we're going to design a proto-Aztec warrior priestess, I don't know if we would necessarily start with this, right? Which I think is this looks almost Spanish or Romanian or something like that. I'm not sure where it comes from, but it's a very specific style. You wouldn't think to go there. I think this definitely not from... I think this is full-on fantasy. I don't think that's actually cultural at all. The armor here, nothing about this is Aztec. You would probably start where I originally started with this setup here. You know, a couple of these Mayan and Aztec influences. But it's this stuff where I really find that I get my best ideas, is when I go way out into left field and then grab something, you know, little tidbits here and there, like like a decorator crab. I'm like, I'm grabbing little yummy nummy bits, and then bring them back to whatever my concept is in order to create something that feels, more fresh and original. Where are these originating from? You mean the artwork itself, or these photos? These are all found online. I just Googled random stuff. That's another thing. Like, so when I'm actually doing the Googling process, where I'm doing the visual research, I won't just search for Aztec priestess or something like that. That's the last thing I'll ever do. I will do it right at the end when there's very specific details that are connected to whatever my source goal is. But it's only to tie things back to the original concept. When I'm trying to make something new, I always take it from way out to the side. And I find that when I'm doing those searches, it'll often be, it will be very kind of naturalistic, the flow. So I might start, instead of going with Aztec priestess, I might go for like female warrior costume, indigenous, and keep it abstract and loose, like not specific. And then as I'm searching, I'll find keywords and buzzwords that'll pop up a lot, and then I'll start searching using those. And I find that if I just follow that thread and go down that rabbit hole, I'll find some interesting things. And I do very much practice what I was talking about, where I glance at stuff. So when I have Google open and I'm looking for these kinds of things, I'm going through it this fast. I'm sweep. Oh, okay, download. Sweep. Okay, download. And I'm not looking for things that specifically answer the question. I'm looking for things that make me go, "Oh, that's cool." Not I want to use that in my painting, if that makes sense. And it makes all the difference for me. Like I said, it just gives me that outside influence that is unexpected. And hopefully, if I can pull it off and I can mix those things correctly, along with thoughtful and careful shape design and considering how the design I'm coming up with will come back thematically and tied to story, tied to game mechanics, or whatever it is I'm working on, I aim to go iconic by mixing those things, and then just going a little bit over the top and make it silly, and then dial it back until it feels iconic. But it's a challenge for sure. Oh, coffee's still hot. That's awesome. All right. Take a little break from looking at stuff is always a good idea. Let's take what we've got here. I want to keep her. And this. I feel like we've got something with these two. In fact, let's even get rid of these two. So in here, they are also very clearly influencing each other. What you'll notice is when you're doing this kind of process, that it's almost like dumping all of these different ideas and all those little visual photos and things and the little impulses that you're going in terms of your design, and then throwing them into a funnel, right? And then the funnel kind of narrows it all down. So as I get closer and closer to whatever my final design will be, it tends to... you can look at the final and then kind of draw a lineage back to the origins very easily. But I could have never found that without going through that funneling process. So yeah, we're definitely seeing some movement in a specific direction, which is cool with me. Let's decide some other things for her. Let's go with... Let's do a thumbnail size. I've done mostly profiles, so now it's time to face her face to face. It looks like I'm really liking this sort of elongated hourglass that I've done. So I'm curious. There are some body types that have this, these sort of really long torsos. Maybe this character needs that. We'll see. I know that neck is gonna be big. God damn it, go away. Little giraffe neck going on there. Hi, kid. Yes. Who's over there slurping all the time? What a slurpy monster. I think my dog is bored, guys. Still sticking with that kind of elongated body type until something else kind of comes up. Let's see if there's anything here that kind of inspires like a skirt, or I did it again. I got all sort of topside shapes. That's kind of cool, that netting. I'm afraid it would be a little too stripper for what we're after with her, but it's a cool idea. Like kind of like a spider web. Interesting. If you're looking to design a character that looks strong and stable and powerful and rooted, you can't go wrong with the really widespread stance on the legs. Having the feet spread to at least shoulder width apart, right? That's going to get you a really stable looking pose, a very strong pose. And the wider you get that, it tends to look stronger. They're a bit more squat, they're a bit lower and more aggro, but the more stable and strong it tends to look. If you're looking for making a more sort of delicate pose, you can bring those legs together. And it tends to give less of a strong looking feel and more of a opposed, that's the word I'm looking for, genteel look. I don't think that's our Bloodflower. I think our Bloodflower is kind of a hard ass, so. Props can help a lot when you're doing character design. And nothing beats just starting with a stick. This is definitely more stylized body type. We have a more natural looking one here, naturalistic musculature, but now we're kind of exploring style. Again, armor is probably not going to be the thing that makes her feel like a badass. It's going to be the pose, the shape, the willingness to throw herself at the elements. So my silhouette is following anatomy. It's inspired by it anyway. But that's only a result of having drawn that stuff for so long. Doing it in just shapes. It's just because I've drawn it so many times, you know? Maybe the two flowers on either side create sort of an abstract eye pattern with the eagle. Maybe in silhouette she just straight up looks like an eagle-headed creature because of the dreads and the flowers. It's kind of an interesting idea. Let's not do that. That looks a bit silly. Cartoony eyes. So I'm filling her out and letting it be a little bit more naturalistic. I'll need to look at the some of my Apocalypto reference for like sandals, because I think sandals are definitely a big part of the costume of this region. Hey, no worries, Autumn. Thanks for hanging out, man. Enjoy your poke. I won't be going for a whole hell of a lot longer. It's got to be a short one today. But we're making progress. Thanks for hanging out. It's always fun chatting. Hi, Sanabil. Thank you. Super appreciate that. You've been following for a while then. Thank you so much. I super appreciate it. It's awful kind of you. I want her to have almost that Tarzan style body type, but you know, obviously more feminine. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't have ripped ass shoulders, super strong back and arms. It's got to be part of it. So now we're kind of implying a little bit of Z depth with the shape by having an elongated leg on one side and a shorter leg on another. Excuse me. This one's going to come forward a bit. Looks like we were basically kind of doing a low angle up shot, which is cool. Not sure what I'm doing with this stick yet, so we may even cut it out and just give her a different weapon. That Makwa Weedle. The Aztec sword, super cool. The other thing that they had that was an amazing piece of technology was something called the Addle Addle. And the Addle Addle was it was a spear throwing device, which kind of, it was like a long handle. Think of those. Have you seen those ball throwing devices for throwing the ball for your dog? It was kind of like that. This really long thing that they would hang on the front of their fingers, and then it would have like a little spoon or a little loop at the end, and they would put their spear into it. And by using that along with their spear, when they would pitch it forward, they'd whip the Addle Addle forward, and it would give the spear even more power to get it flying through the air and hit harder. And super impressive bit of technology. There's some amazing videos on YouTube about slings and Addle Addles that I've checked out in the past that were really, really fascinating. And it's interesting to see how they change the physics of what you would think would be fairly primitive weapons and turn them into serious contenders. Like with an Addle Addle with a spear would be roughly comparable to a bow. Like it adds a ton of power, distance, and force. Oops. Let's make a new layer and start carving this up and see how she looks. I'm going to go ahead and first keep it as a clipping mask for now. Let's grab a more forgiving brush. Grab a dark. We already know what we want to do with the neck and throat. Yes, in Scotland, you caber tossers just really liked crushing people with heavy stuff. And it was very effective. I haven't been to a Scottish Games in a long time. We have something that's actually somewhat similar here in the Pacific Northwest called the Lager Games. And it is the different activities that the loggers use. So it's all sawing and axe throwing and like balancing on really narrow branches and crazy stuff like that. It's super cool. And it always made me think of the Highland Games. Maybe these are actually full-on drippings. That's kind of cool. Oh my god. For real, all that polka talk. It's totally gotten to me. Oh. Maybe her hands are also bloody. I want the low-hanging, I really want a low-hanging hip loincloth that really shows off, like, it should stop just above the mons And I'm purposefully thinking about it this way so that as she becomes fuller in the belly from being pregnant, I don't need to change the design at all. All that's really going to happen is that that silhouette's going to become really sweeping at the bottom. And I think if the blood is draining over the top of that, that's going to make for really cool contours. We might even be able to do some kind of Frank Miller style, like black and white poster art and things like that for her in the future. Again, I'm still always thinking about future stuff. You have the floor, the flower on the top and the blood, like the bloody flower. Boom. Yeah. Hell yeah. Let's get that check. Maybe we can do... No, I really want to avoid this. I don't want her to fall into the kind of that sexy, primitive trope. I would really like for this to be like a fresh take on and creating this myth. Of course, her hair is going to be dark. And I think she's going to have to definitely have some manner of sandals. These are going to be just placekeepers for now, because this is where I would, Aiden, go and check out specific reference. So I would look for actual Aztecan sandals or the sandal style of any of the Mesoamerican peoples extant or extinct, and use that. So that's garbage. Things to note. All right, so we got a new layer on here. Let's start actually carving up with line. It's not dark enough. Let's go a little darker. This is sort of like a super dark Mononoke. I know that I want her to have like medicine pouches, but I don't want it to get comic booky, you know? Or at least not too comic booky. A little bit's okay. So we got maybe 15 more minutes. Get some ideas down. I'm just doing little lines to kind of denote and help separate, overlap, create just slight amounts of detail. Again, this is not meant to be anything finished. Obviously, the legs are awful, but... There was a documentary, about shoes and how people's feet are mostly the toes are more compact than that of our ancestors due to shoes. Oh, yeah. That makes absolute sense. My feet are my toes in particular are super stunted from small shoes in my youth, and yeah, I have to wear just ultra wide shoes. I think yeah, the people that I've seen where they grew up, a little bit more barefoot more often as kids, absolutely you see a difference in actual foot anatomy. That makes total sense to me. See what's going on here. My legs are just stupid long. All right, so it's good enough. I don't need to refine that anymore. The details are there. I think I do want to consider her. So her flowers will be. It might just be one. It might be better to just do one because of the accidental cartoonishness that will happen if it's like a raven or an eagle with two eyes. I like the idea that the ears are painted in the same blood or pigment or whatever it is. There's in the Apocalypto movie, there's some really cool scenes where there are characters covered in really brilliant blue pigment, which I thought was cool. I'm sorry, I let it go. Ridiculous. This mod. I don't even know what it. Maybe it was just because it was long. I think it's just because the message was long that the auto mod kicked in. Sorry about that. Leads into the other documentary about the human body. How we're built for survival. Oh yeah. Yeah, the fact that that's a nervous reaction, like in the literal sense of the term, nervous, where having your hands and feet, and it's only your hands and feet when they're in the water, they get wrinkly, and it's for grip. And it's how they test if there is if you have some kind of nerve damage. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's a neurological disorder or neurological damage. That specific nervous effect won't happen. So no matter how long you soak your hands, it never gets wrinkly. Isn't that interesting? I love that stuff. I like how we're all basically that kid from Jerry Maguire. Like all children of the internet now are just factoid weirdos. Documentary. Ah, yes. I don't really want to get too much into facial features here. This is more of a design pass. I like let's pull back up our original reference. I really like the patterning. I think this black and white element, this really raw look, is probably a really good approach to make it more iconic. Maybe the white kind of dribbles down. I don't know. It's just a design pass. Nothing needs to be perfect. I love the idea of these big jade necklaces and things like that, but man, it's going to run really counter to, the Kratos theory that we're after. So maybe actually like big jade belt or something might be cool. Big heavy stone detailing. And of course I will probably be adding some kind of stone detailing to create, you know, big earrings. And maybe even the labrae, not labrae, the bridge piercing. There was a 2080 comic that had a... Oh, yeah. I seem to remember hearing about that at some point. It was a slaying. Isn't that Irish? Or Celtic? I'll have to check that out. I'm gonna have to scroll through this, and there's some stuff that I need to take note of in here for sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a Celtic word. I think from front view, there's definitely like a strong sort of, you know, more angular gumdroppy shape to these noses. You have an unwritten no shoes in the house rule. You know, I actually do too. I don't wear shoes in the house. I picked it up in college. My roommate was a Korean guy, and he just never did it. And I just started to feel like it was weird for me to wear shoes in the house. Also, I noticed it meant that we had to clean twice as often. So, yeah. I support the no shoes rule. I think you're doing it right. I'm going in and actually rendering and detailing now, even though I hadn't drawn out proper proportions for anything at all, so nothing's gonna look right. But that's all right. We're just having fun now. Winding down. We made some pretty big design decisions tonight. You hated wearing socks in the house when you were younger? Whoa. It's like Hobbit feet, right? Like Peter Jackson's designs. It's all black feet on the bottom. Super thick calluses. When I was younger, I think my feet were tougher than they are now. Now when I go out walking on the gravel and stuff, although admittedly it's that pointy gravel, it's always ouchy. Kova's getting used to it. It's definitely more savage in this. This might be too savage and too primitive. I'm not sure. It's going to take some toying with, and it's going to definitely take some thinking about. In terms of iconic and in terms of like design, I think, yeah, it's got the right idea, but it's too soon to just lock it down and ship it. Anyway, it'll give me a lot to think about for the coming week. I'm not sure if Thursday we will be doing Bloodflower work. We might. We'll see how it goes. We might just do like a silly day and just do some random sketching. I don't know. What do y'all think? Do you guys enjoy doing this problem-solving stuff where there's an actual like set purpose, or you think you'd have more fun just with silly random things? I like the project stuff just in general because it helps me get it done, you know? I have these things that I want to make, so it's a great opportunity to do it. You like the randomness? Okay, maybe I'll do like a random day every week or something like that. That might be something to think about. Both. Thanks, Anabil. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It'd probably have to be both. A rotation, yeah. So got kind of the Magneto helmet right now, which is something I'm not digging for this character. Be great to see this character do a finished piece. Well, ideally, I mean, kind of the premise of what I'm after here is that this character will be taken to many finished pieces. I need to do, for this to get to the illustrated book level that I'm after, I need to do 72 or so illustrations. It's going to be a lot of work. But the upside is that because it's a narrative, it's not just going to be the one character. So I get to explore with different characters. I get to do different environments. It should be really fun. I think it'll be pretty varied. And then, of course, I'll be telling the story about it as we go. But I think it will be good for me and for y'all to do the occasional rando day just for fun. Explain the way I portray or paint the paint. Oh, like you mean kind of like a Rorschach type deal, like where the paint actually changes shape and things like that? That's not a bad idea. That could be something, especially considering that the base magic in this story is blood and built around blood. So that might make some sense. It's worthwhile. Or maybe every priestess has a different kind of blood pattern. There's something to it, definitely. It's worth exploring. Yeah, tribal drawing's great. Awesome. I think we will stop here with some pretty solid design decisions today, and we'll save further exploration. I think that we definitely have a potential illustration with this character on the left, and I'm excited to let that kind of simmer in the back of my head, come back to it, and see how I'm feeling, because I think there might be something in that one. That might be our one image that really sells this story, but it depends on what she's hunting or who she's hunting, right? Could be fun. Yeah, the idea phase is absolutely my favorite. I love it, but I'm such an illustrator that I always, it's something I end up finding myself fighting against. So it's good to have you guys here to keep me on task. Yeah, thanks for watching, Dude Cameron. Do I have a Discord? I do have a Discord. I don't have the damn address memorized. That is something I will remedy for you. Yeah, I have a public version of my Patreon Discord. I will make sure to get that link up. For other streamers, do they put that link in their About section, or do they just say it for every episode? And then, of course, the other way in is through Patreon. So that's if you want the monthly lessons, but that's a total aside. That's something else. I gotta watch. I gotta watch more streams. I've been watching some, and they're so entertaining and super interactive. So I've got a lot to learn. A lot to learn. A learning experience for me in every respect. You can make a permanent link which never expires. Okay, I will do that. I'll set up. I'll do that tonight after shutting this down. I'll set up the permanent link for my Discord, so we'll have a public option for the Twitch. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me, gang. It was really fun. We got in some good time. Made some solid decisions. I'm pretty happy about it. So we'll catch you on Thursday at noon, and then Sunday again at 5. And we'll continue working on this. My automod is a bastard. It's nice meeting you again too, Aiden. Big love to the whole family. Give hugs to all for me, all right? Or maybe I should keep it on, dude Cameron, just so that it hunts you down. It's watching you. All right. Well, take care, gang. As always, paint smart, paint sexy. I'm Izzy, a professional writer, concept artist, and illustrator. I've taught painting for a dozen years or so, on and offline. Many of your favorite illustrators and designers have studied with me or under me and have gone on to teach in their own right. You're here because, like they did, you want to learn to paint realistically for illustration or concept art. Well, worry not. You're in the right place. Grab a seat. I want you to join me as I explain all the aspects of image making in extremely digestible and clear monthly lessons. Not through the lens of silly how to paint hair or eye demos. That shit is carnival tricks. And you're not really learning anything except an exact way to render one thing in one manner. This is painting mysticism at its worst. Watching these kinds of exploitative lessons won't help you level up with your understanding. Sure, now you can paint sparkly hair, but what if you want to paint a dragon, or figure out how to render a sea of fire, or depict a one-eyed transgender space marine dying in the vacuum of space? Painting and image making are tools of communication, and can be learned by anyone willing to put in some time. Like grammar is for language, light, color, and form literally follow a formula. Painting well is not a matter of chicken bones, zombie crackers, and the ever-dismissive concept of talent. Learning with my series, Izzy's Logic of Light and Color, will give you the tools and understanding so you can analyze light and form in reality and bring it to life in your work. Using this simple system I have distilled will help you harness your art to share your ideas as you've always intended. When we are children, we all draw in symbols. Symbols for our house, our hands, the sun, the grass, our pet lobster. As we grow into artists, we must learn to throw away symbols and begin to draw and paint what it is we actually see. And as we grow further, we learn to paint beyond what we see and what is actually there. Until finally we move beyond this and learn to trim away what is actually there so we voice only what we want. With me, you're going to have to buckle in and maybe take some pain meds, because I'm going to rip out your normal person's eyes and replace them with a painter's eyes. I'm going to restructure how you see and how you understand what you're seeing. I'm going to turn you into a painting machine. Truly, anyone can learn to paint realistically if they can both determine what they're seeing or imagining with basic and straightforward rules. Once you understand the mechanics of light, color, and form in reality, you will have the capacity to paint anything you can see or imagine realistically. After that, the real fun begins. Here are some of the ways you can join me and master the logic of light and color. The very first lesson of my series is totally free on my YouTube channel. In that lesson, I give you the 3 primary rules of light that are the very foundation of painting and understanding light itself. If you do nothing else to make your painting mastery easier, at least watch this amazing little lesson. It will do more for your basic understanding of light than just about any tutorial you can find. When you're ready to get deeper and you feel like you have those first rules figured out, allow me to utterly blow your mind with the next episodes available on Gumroad and ArtStation. As we go deeper into the rules underlying the logic of light and color, I carefully and simply explain important and interesting elements. From beginner to pro, there is an amazing amount of information available. Each concept has been distilled into the clearest explanation you're likely to find anywhere. Like episode 2, where we cover the atmospheric effect and how that relates to light, scale, and distance of objects in reality, and how to render it. Or episode 3, where I hand over the ultimate key to controlling value in your paintings. Episodes 5 through 8 are all about rendering materials. Want to understand the logic behind rendering metal, leather, hair, transparency, damn near anything. I even cover the logic behind painting special effects like fire, neon, or lightsabers in later episodes. The lessons just get deeper and more detailed as I build on the foundations covered in preceding episodes. The 10th gives you the most important rule of composition you'll ever learn to keep your images interesting. The next few episodes cover important painting techniques like my edge control ninjutsu or simplification with the large to small system. We dip a toe in color theory, devote a few episodes to finishing full-blown illustrations utilizing the techniques we've learned so far. Some episodes, like the lighting game or Advanced Exercises 1, the shirt, present cheap, valuable, and practical exercises to give you explosive growth in your development. Episodes 22 through 25 cover painting and illustration, just like I do for Magic the Gathering, from assignment and inception to signing the painting at the end. Each one is full of tips, knowledge, everything to make working as an illustrator easier. Did you enjoy learning how to paint basic materials? Metal, wood, and such? I got 3 whole episodes devoted to the intricate logic behind painting different kinds of skin. After that, more lessons devoted to pumping life into your portraits and original methods for accurately drawing faces out of your head. From fundamentals to photo bashing, Gumroad and ArtStation have every lesson I create available for purchase a la carte. But here's an even better way to learn with me. Stay current with my latest lessons on Patreon for the lowest price available. Monthly support gets my student that month's lesson, a critique or paint over of their finished work, a discount code for 25% off the entire Gumroad archive, and access to the Logic of Light and Color Discord community, where we plan future lessons, share knowledge, and learn together as a team. The absolute best method is to join my Patreon classroom at the Student Plus tier, where you'll get everything I just mentioned and a free episode from the archive every month to accelerate your mastery at your own pace. You've decided to take control of your painting and master Izzy's logic of light and color. Now it's up to you to choose the path that's best for you. I'll see you on the flip side. Paint smart, paint sexy.